What's going on, everybody? Hope you're having a wonderful day wherever you are in the world. Today I want to talk about my budget camera setup for filming cinematic reels and vlogs. This video is inspired by probably one of my favorite YouTubers right now, P-Skates. He's made a lot of videos like this talking about his portable camera setups, which I thought were really cool, so definitely go check those videos out. But as somebody that's pretty new to filming cinematic stuff, this is my first mirrorless camera and I think it's a pretty good budget setup. So I kind of wanted to make a similar video and go over my setup for any other beginners out there or people just trying to ball on a budget. So anyway, let me just grab this real quick. All right, so this is my camera. I'm gonna pray that transition came out good. I had to switch over to my Osmo Pocket 3 here to show you my first mirrorless camera and my budget cinematic camera setup. So yeah, let's get into it. All right, and whoa. Little change up here, switch over to D-Log M. But yeah, this is my budget cinematic camera setup. Let me go ahead and take the cage off of this so that we can get a better look at the camera body, and I'll tell you what it is. Also, I love that these little camera cages come with their own little mini tool that just neatly stores away in the bottom here. I think that's super neat. All right, honestly, taking the cage off, I forget how tiny this thing is, which is also another reason why I love it so much. It is literally so small. I really like having the cage on it because it gives a better grip. You can see the cage gives me a more aggressive grip. It also gives a little bit more weight to the camera too, which is nice for filming at home, or if I'm going somewhere dedicated filming. It makes the camera feel a little bit more legit. But this, for a on-the-go setup, just rocking no cage, this thing is super portable, super small, and I love it. But anyway, this is the camera. It is the Sony ZV-E10 Mark II, and let's get into why I bought it and why I think it's the best budget camera. So I bought this camera for about $1,100 with the kit lens on it, which was huge for me because the other option was the A6700, which it comes about $1,400, I believe, with no lens. So that was going to go over my budget, and that was a big reason why I ended up getting this camera and not the 6700. Was buying this camera for $1,100 with the lens still gave me a little bit of room to buy accessories like the cage and another lens, which we'll get into later. But yeah, this camera has an APS-C sensor inside of it. It is the same sensor as the FX30 and the A6700. So the limitations to this camera isn't really in its picture quality. It's actually some of the other features, which I'll get into in a second. But the picture that you can capture with this camera for its price is really freaking good, and it is up there with some of the bigger, more expensive cameras like the FX30. So obviously, it being a budget option camera, there are going to be some downsides to this camera and some features that it lacks. So I'll go ahead and get into that real quick. So I think one of the biggest things that this camera lacks that I would like to have in it is the in-body image stabilization, also known as IBIS. This basically just means when you're doing handheld shots with this camera, it's going to be a little bit more shaky because it doesn't have that built-in stabilization. Now, the kit lens has optical stabilization, and this thing also has something called active stabilization, which I've never used before, so I don't know how it works, but I do know it does crop your footage a decent amount, and I'm not too sure how it compares to in-body image stabilization. But I would say that is about the biggest con with this camera. Another thing would be if you're into photography, this would probably be why you would end up getting the A6700 over this camera, is that the A6700 is more of a hybrid camera. It's meant for video and photography. This camera can take amazing pictures, but it doesn't have a manual shutter to it. So if you're doing a lot of moving photography, maybe of cars and stuff, this probably wouldn't be the best camera for you. But again, this is also kind of just personal preference, to be honest, because I'm not much of a photographer. I mean, I do take occasional photos, and I find this camera to be just fine with it. I don't really think I need the manual shutter, but I know a lot of people like to have it, so it is personal preference. Along with the electronic viewfinder, which you'll also find on the A6700. This camera doesn't have that. They have to cut costs somewhere. It would be nice to have, but you know, for the price I paid, I'm okay with not having those features. And then lastly, you might kind of hear some things about like this camera overheating, which to be honest, you will hear this problem about the A6700, and then even like the other cameras like that. I've heard like the A7C Mark II also has like overheating issues. It seems to be like a recurring theme with a lot of the Sony like more compact cameras, or at least the ones without the built-in fans. Personally, I haven't had this camera overheat. I have taken this out in like 97 degrees sunny weather, and I have yet to have it overheat. I definitely wouldn't recommend like recording long interviews with this thing or doing like super long talking head videos for like YouTube. Then you might experience overheating, but for me, I just do like shorter YouTube videos, as well as like I do a lot of Instagram reels, so my recording time is not that long and it's never really a problem for me. The only thing I've ever experienced with this camera is it does have a safety feature that if you don't turn it off, it will shut the camera off before it gets too hot, before it overheats, but you can just turn that off in settings, and since I've turned that off, I haven't actually had the camera like overheat. But those things aside, this camera is so awesome. I mean, it is literally so tiny, so compact. You can take it with you anywhere. Like I put this in my sling bag, no problem, and it is awesome. Like it'll be an awesome travel camera. And the kit lens that it comes with is a 16mm to 50mm lens, and it's really good. It's got Sony's autofocus, which is super fast. Obviously, this lens isn't going to be the greatest in low light conditions because it is only a f3.5. So that's kind of like my only complaint with this lens. But you know, for the price you pay, $1,100, and you get this lens, it is a very good starting point. Another thing that's really cool about this camera that actually you don't get on the 6700 or the FX30 is that this camera is meant to be like a vlogging camera. So it actually has a pretty decent built-in mic from the factory. So like from what I've heard, like the A6700 mic is pretty much like unusable straight out of the camera. This camera, you can see right here, pretty decent sized microphone up top. Now, it's obviously not going to be as good as like a shotgun mic per se, or like using the DJI Mic 2. I still like to use this whenever I'm recording like YouTube videos and I just want my voice to be super clear. I would kind of equate it to like the same as the mic on your iPhone. Obviously, you're going to be able to hear background noise and echo, but if you don't have the money for the mic, or if you're just kind of in a pinch and you want to record something with a little bit of audio, this mic is a lot more usable than some of the other mics that you'll find on different cameras. And once again, the picture quality is so awesome on this camera. It is the same sensor as the FX30, Sony's best APS-C sensor. It'll do 10-bit footage up to 60 frames per second, I believe. I normally record in 24 frames per second. And then this also will do 120 frames per second recording, but it's only an 8-bit footage. So that is like kind of, you know, that's not super awesome if you plan on doing like a lot of like slow motion video. Color grading 8-bit footage isn't all that great. If you're going to be doing a lot of slow-mo and you really want that 120 frames per second 10-bit footage, maybe don't go for this camera, but for me personally, it's not an issue. So this is the K&F Nano X variable ND filter. The rule is whatever your frames per second is, you want your shutter speed to be double that. I record at 20 frames per second with my shutter speed at 1/48. And for that, you need a variable ND so that you can, you know, dial in your exposure and make sure that you're not overexposing your shot. This ND filter is a little bit pricey, but I will recommend like spend the money on a good variable ND filter. I would say that you shouldn't cheap out on the variable ND because you'll get things like X pattern and you know, color shift. This, I have not had issues with that at all with this filter, so that's been super great. I'm gonna be honest, I've dropped this so many times and I've like banged this glass on stuff and I have yet to scratch it, so it's held up pretty good. Also, the 9 stops are great unless you're like pointing your camera at the sun. I've never had an issue with this not being dark enough. Now, as I mentioned before, the kit lens that comes with this camera is only an f3.5. With that lens in low light situations, the camera doesn't do that good, but the camera does have pretty good low light capabilities. you just want to get a lens that has a higher f-stop. And that's why I got this F1.8 35mm lens. This one is from TT Artisan. It was about $100, so it is a budget lens, but it does also have autofocus, which is super sick. At f1.8, it does pretty decent in low light conditions, especially during time like blue hour. It does really good. Lenses are definitely tricky because there are so many different options out there, and it's all sort of up to you on what you're trying to capture. So I can't really like recommend one lens in particular. And if you're on a budget, you know, you definitely don't have much to work with when you're trying to get another lens. So I would say if you want to do like some low light videos, you know, get a lens like this, like a TT Artisan, or there's like a 9 Artisans lens. Those are both companies that make some pretty decent budget options, and I've had nothing but good experiences with this. If you got an extra $100 to spend and you want like a low light lens that's gonna have some beautiful bokeh and also, you know, just give you you know, another little shot to work with, I definitely recommend this lens. Now, obviously, depending on your budget, you know, accessories might be limited. There are obviously some accessories that I feel like are a must-have. I think you definitely should get a tripod if you don't have one already. I use this big ass $20 on tripod from Walmart. So I don't have a like fancy tripod or anything. And when I'm out and about, I just do a lot of handheld anyway, or I'll use like this mini tripod that came with my Pocket 3. These are really nice. Just, you can order them on Amazon, like a mini tripod like this. That way you can just like set your camera down on like a ledge or something. I've been using cheap tripods for a really long time now, and they seem to be fine. An accessory that I really wanted to get was this cage. Not only does it protect my camera, but it also gives me, like I mentioned in the beginning of this video, it gives me this bigger grip. Also, it's really nice when doing vertical video because it has these threads right here, so that way I can just put it on the tripod like this rather than having to like turn the head of my tripod. So now the last essential is definitely going to be a microphone. You can stand to watch a video with good audio quality and low video quality, but to watch a video like this where it's really good video quality but the audio quality just sucks, it's just honestly unbearable. So I would say, you know, with whatever money you might have left over after buying the camera, I would say invest in good audio. I used the DJI Mic 2 that came with my Pocket 3 Creator combo, and these mics by themselves are pretty expensive. I think they're like around $200. If you have $200 to spend and you want a good lavalier mic, I mean, this is a really good microphone. But if you're on a budget, I previously used these Rode Wireless Me lavalier microphones. They kind of look like this, and they're pretty good. It was like $80 on eBay when I bought it. And so like for $80, I mean, it's definitely like, it's not cheap, but you know, a pretty good price for a good microphone. And I would honestly just say like it's worth the investment to at least like get these. But yeah, let me just show you like an audio recording just straight off the camera's microphone, and I'll show you it's really not that bad. All right, so this is me like full vlogger mode, using my ZV-E10 Mark II. I got no microphone hooked up or anything. This is literally just like straight out of the camera. As you can tell, you know, it's a little echoey. It's not as like crisp and clear as using the lavalier microphone. But it's kind of like the iPhone microphone, honestly. It's usable, it's doable. If that's what you can afford and you're just kind of vlogging on the go, then I feel like this is a really good option, and it's built into your camera. It's pretty sick. And comes with a dead cat that just kind of clips into the hot shoe. But yeah, you get a free dead cat. Super cool. But yeah, honestly, I'm just gonna end the video right here because I think we've covered everything. Budget cinematic camera setup. Honestly, like I would say if your max budget is $1,500, you spend $1,100 on this camera, spend the other $400 on accessories, and you would be pretty well off, honestly. You have a nice little setup that records some very awesome footage, and it's very portable. And yeah, if you guys got any questions or recommendations on future videos, just let me know down in the comments, and I'll see you guys in the next one.